Assalamu alaikum.
You're welcome, Sam. Regional sub, can we get started?
Yes. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Welcome to our Virginia Sanat-o-Tijarat webinar. Topic that we will be holding today is on real estate and real estate investments. We will begin with the recitation of the Holy Quran, as long as with the translation by Sadiq Bal Sahib.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تأكلوا أموالكم بينكم بالباطل إلا أن تكون تجارة عن تراض منكم ولا تقتلوا أنفسكم إن الله كان بكم رحيما. ومن يفعل ذلك عدوانا وظلما فسوف نصليه نارا وكان ذلك على الله يسيرا. The verses I have just recited are from chapter 4, verse 30 to 31. In the name of Allah, the Gracious, the Merciful, O ye who believe, devour not your property among yourselves by unlawful means, except that you earn by trade with mutual consent. And kill not yourselves. Surely Allah is merciful to you. And whosoever does that by way of transgression and injustice, we shall cast him into fire, and that is easy with Allah.
Jazakallah Saudbai for such beautiful verses. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu to everyone. Jazakumullah for joining in. Today, we'll be discussing real estate, why you should get in, who should get in, and how can one get in. Today, I'm joined by two very respected panelists. Both of them are young Khuddam like you and me. They're in their 20s. They're very extremely hardworking, and they have always served the Jamaat in various capacities. You might have seen them running around in jalsas as well as holding offices in your local Jamaat if you happen to be in NVA or Richmond Jamaat. So I'll introduce the first panelist. Both of them happen to be relatives, and both of them happen to be in the same business by coincidence. So our first panelist will be Zaryab Mahmood Gondal. Zaryab Bhai is serving as Regional Nazim Wakare Amal, Aseta Jismani. Zaryab graduated in an IT degree in 2018. Later on, he got his MBA in 2023 from George Mason University in Nova. He is currently living in NBA Jamaat. Zaryab joined his family, I believe, started the business 9 years ago, but Zaryab got involved in 2018. Currently, Zaryab is managing over 10 million in rental portfolios. He have flipped over 100 million in real estate, and he's currently working on his first residential project. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Zaryab.
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.
Jazakallah for joining in. Our second panelist will be Umer Khalil Sindhu. Umer Bhai finished his college towards 2016 to 2018 timeframe period. His family started this business back in 2016 as well. He completely got into the business in 2019. He's actively managing, just like Zaryab, a nice size rental portfolio, as well as he's flipping houses on the side, alongside new constructions. He's currently serving as my local Qaid in Richmond, Majlis, and he has always been an elder brother to me. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Qaid Saab.
Ji, walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Jazakallah for joining in. Zaryab, I would like to start with you, since you have an impressive background in IT and IT happens to be the future. Then why did you still decide to go with real estate and your family business? Why did you decide to give in and join your family real estate empire?
Ji, Jazakallah. First of all, Jazakallah to Sanat-o-Tijarat department for giving me the opportunity to share my experience and my knowledge. In 2018, when I graduated from George Mason with an IT degree, I had the option of either taking up an IT job or joining the family business. And I had to weigh in my ambitions. I had to find something that had to fulfill my ambitions. I am somebody who loves challenges, who loves setting up goals. So when I looked at this business, that was extremely challenging for me. And I looked at it in a way that could also fulfill my ambitions as well. So that's why I decided to join the business fully in 2018. And I kind of took over from there. And alhamdulillah, I am leading it now.
Jazakallah. Katsab, now I would come over to you. Your degree wasn't in real estate either. Why did you decide to join this business, this family business, instead of pursuing a career in any other field?
Ji, first of all, thank you so much for having me. I think there was never a goal that to finish the degree and get a 9-to-5 job. The goal was always to start our own business. So my dad is started in 2016, but even back in Pakistan, we were running a business as well. So I think since childhood, like there was a goal, like, I knew that, like, one day I'm gonna start the business. Which one? That was different story. But again, the family business started in 2016, finished my college around 2019, and then, like, joined my family business. The first few months was difficult, to be very honest. Like, it was like learning process, trying to learn new skills, but eventually it gets better, and here I am.
Jazakallah. Zaryab, can you shed some more light? If a Khadim his family does not own a real estate business, he's pursuing a degree in any other field, it could be accounting, IT. Why should he get into real estate business, even though his family is not currently actively involved in real estate instead?
I think it's an excellent way to build wealth in the US. And I think we're going to talk more about it later today, but other than that, I think it comes from a passion. So if you love looking at homes, new constructions and all that kind of stuff, this residential or commercial real estate is for you. And again, I'm somebody who loves challenging, setting up goals. I love having the thrill of it. So that's why someone like me chose this field. And it's for somebody who doesn't have a background or whose family does not have a background, if he I mean it could be a great side hustle as well to start with too. I have many friends that have recently started getting into real estate, and every time I would speak to them, they wanted to obviously they've in their IT jobs for a while, or any other jobs for a while, and they wanted to change, and they saw this field as something that they could possibly do. Obviously, you need some capital, which we're also going to talk about, but I think it's something that is always, as a real estate, is always appreciating. At least historically, it has been appreciating for the last almost 20 years now. So yeah, I think you need to drive it's something. It has to be your passion. If not, then yes, you have to look at something else.
Excellent. So you have to be passionate and obsessed with housing in general to get into this business. You have to have the
Absolutely.
love of the business.
Absolutely. Otherwise, you're not going to last longer in this.
Makes total sense. Khaitsab, could you shed some light? What sort of background, how can one prepare to get into this business? Like what sort of background or professional credentials one should possess before he should even think about getting into real estate?
I think just like Rizal Nazim sir mentioned, I think anyone can do it, to be honest. Like I always, when I tell my friends about it, I always says, if I can do it, you can do it too. And I think that's the main purpose of like today's webinar, right? So I think I know personally a lot of like, well-established people who are doing 9-to-5 jobs, or who are doctors who have their degrees in IT, and they're still doing this somehow like in the part-time. So I think anyone can start doing it. There is no rocket science behind it. You should learn how to do it, and you can be successful.
So any Khadim can do it. There's no barriers to entry.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Jazakallah for that. Zaryab, can you dive a little bit deeper into your daily operations? Can you describe like what's your role within the family business, within the company? What do you do? What is the main drive and your daily day-to-day activities?
Gee, so I'm basically I can explain you how the company works. So basically, I am in the leading role now. I have an EA, an executive assistant, that is working under me, and I also have my father, who's a partner, who mainly looks over the operational side of the business. I act more of as a leader, as a visionary who's more responsible in, looking for newer projects, seeing where to take the company moving forward. And then I also have, under my father, we have a few project managers, to be exact, who help him look over all the residential projects that we have. And then under them is a team of contractors that are always busy doing new constructions, renovating homes, or doing project management sides. We basically have three types. One is, as you explained at the start, we manage a rental portfolio. So we have a project management side, that's a different department. We have a home remodeling, which is basically takes care of the flips. And we just recently started, as you mentioned in the start, working on new constructions as well. So that's a different department that's taking care of that.
Excellent. Jazakallah. Khaitsab, I assume you are a visionary at your company and you have a leading role in terms of buying property, selling properties, managing those rental portfolios, as well as new constructions. Can you describe a little bit more on the rental properties? How do you acquire them? What's the main purpose of those rental properties?
Sure. I think, to be very honest, I started doing rentals when the COVID hits, when the market was no one knows what's going to happen to the market. We always try to find more opportunities, some cash flow come to your bank account. So the goal was to find the second source of income, and that's how we as a company start doing the rentals. And I think alhamdulillah, from last, I would say, give or take 2 years, we able to have a very good, decent size rental portfolio, and it's growing with the every year, or I would say every month actually.
That's amazing. Zaryab, after the rental portfolio, can you dig deeper into the flips? You mentioned you did over 100 million in flips. Could you describe what is flipping, how it's done, how can one get into it, and just basics of flipping, what it is in layman's terms?
So flipping in real estate is basically you purchased off-market properties, or they can be on market as well. Basically, most of them are distressed properties. So properties that need work, that sellers are willing to sell for a discounted price, or it's possible that some of them are getting foreclosed. The owner probably passed away and it's getting passed on to their heirs. There's so many there's so many options when it comes to off-market properties. So first you have to define and look at these properties to see what property could be good for you. Obviously, it has to be in an area where you possibly work, in a market that you're fully aware of. And once you identify these properties, then you have to work on your numbers. In generically in US, they do a 70% rule, which basically means that they purchase property 70% of its market value, but it differs in situations to situations. After you've done your numbers, you have to look at how much it's gonna cost you in terms of rehab. You have to be very good at that. And then once you basically have defined that, you put in an offer. If it gets accepted, you go under contract, then you have to find the source of financing. Either you purchase it through cash, or you have to go to a lender, which we will also talk about later in this webinar on how to come up with financing. So once you come up with financing, you can potentially close the property, then you begin the construction work. Once you have completed that work, you can sell the property in the market.
Jazakallah, Zaryab. Khalid Sahab, Zaryab has described on paper how to find, evaluate, what to look for in a property. But could you dig deeper, like once you actually step into a property and you're evaluating it as a flip, what are some of the things you're looking for? Like what are some key signs you're looking for to see if this is the right property? If it is what it's looking on the paper, will you be able to make any profit or your spread from this property? Could you elaborate, like from your experience, like what are you looking for? How do you evaluate if it's in the right condition?
Gee, to be honest, like the way I do is, if I come across any opportunity or any property for sale, I always try to run the number before I go and look at the property. So let's say hypothetically, if the property is selling, someone's asking 100K for it, I always run the number before, and suppose the resale would be $350,000. So then I look into it, like how much renovation it requires, how much money it requires, and how much time it requires. Those are the basic aspects of it. And the reason is because There's some projects can take you a month to do it. Like regular cosmetic issues, you can sort it out like very easily. But there's some houses, and of course depends on the size of the house or the size of the project as well. It would take a couple of months. Sometimes you need to pull the permits from the local city hall. Sometimes you need to take extra steps to, like, get to your goal or try to fix the property. Excuse me. So I think those are the things. So there's no numbers. It's all number games, to be honest. If you can understand how the number works, just like I think Regional Nazim Saab mentioned, like 70-30 rule, it does not apply on every single property, to be very honest. Because every property have different requires different different way to do it, different solution, I would say. So sometimes, yes, that's the main goal. That's what people try to follow it globally. But again, at the same time, it's not for every single property.
Okay. So another question that a lot of people ask is, would you prefer a property that only needs a little bit of work that you can get in, be done within a month? Or is your preferred property a total, just like Nazim Saab mentioned, a total gut job where it needs to be completely renovated and redone? What are some pros and cons for someone coming in? What should he decide?
I think anything which has potential in it. Like, you don't have to filter yourself, like you want to buy the property which needs a total gut job, or you just want to buy the property which has only cosmetic issues. So I would say, especially I would recommend for the beginners, I would say don't filter yourself, or I'm not gonna do that, I'm not gonna do this. I would say jump into it, because that's how you learn. And second most important thing is, every single property, and I would say this until today, I'm still learning. Every single property comes with different issues, different problems. So you should know, or you have an experience, and you should know, I would say, to how to improvise it, and how to sort those things out. So I think, just like I says, anything which has potential in it, go for it. It's new construction, it's rental properties, or it's a flip.
Do whatever you can. Jazakallah khair, Saab.
Absolutely.
Zaryab bhai, within daily operations, Saud bhai asked an excellent question. He wants to know what was your worst project? What was your nightmare? The worst property or the deal that you got your family business into, and how did you get out of it?
In terms of I didn't know we were taking questions right now, but I'm sure
Okay.
I'll be happy to answer that. I think worst deal in terms of numbers, or in terms of basically work. In terms of number, I think in terms of number, there's always a possibility you can run yourself into a situation where you miscalculated the amount of work needs to be done. Sometimes you are buying at a very high price where there's not a lot of spread. And sometimes when you go in, you'll always find out property needs a little bit more rehab. Like, sometimes you might go in and you're like, oh, I didn't know about that there was a structural issue with the property. Sometimes we've had situations where we have purchased property, and after something happened, and a pipe burst, or the property got flooded because of something, or something fell on the roof. And so these things can always add to your cost. And that's why you always should try to play a little safer. But again, that's the name of the game. There will be times where you will not make any money. There will be times where you'll make a little bit money, and I can assure you there will be a lot of times where you will hit home runs. I mean, basically, you just have to keep going. Once you're in it, once you have decided, you have to keep going. In terms of work, I think the worst of them was basically this home that we had purchased. And it was a foreclosure purchase. So in a foreclosure purchase, you don't really get access to inside of the property. So you have to take a wild guess of what's happening. So it's a little bit of more risk. But we ended up purchasing this property. And once we got possession of this property, we went in, and you can just imagine if you stop throwing your trash away for at least 2 years, and you're basically dumping it inside your own property. Just imagine how bad it's gonna smell and how bad it's gonna look. And yes, we've done projects like that. I've gone into properties where we've found dead animals. So it's absolutely gross. It can be absolutely gross as well. But I don't mean to scare anyone, but that's just like an extreme situation.
That's
So yeah,
that's pretty crazy.
yeah.
Zaryab, can you shed some light on some tools, or what are some of the different things you guys use to find a property? Like, are there different apps or sites or people who help you? How do you come across a property, a potential investment?
I think that's a great question. So, the way I do it is I also happen to be a real estate agent. So I am a license holder. So I get firsthand access to all the resources, all the data that's out there regarding properties or sales that are out there, sales of the property. So basically, as you know, these days, it's anyone who is successful is basically who manages data properly. So it's about how you analyze things. And I think one of the best blessings I have gotten is having this license. And I think it allows me to look for properties beyond other people, other investors, where other investors are getting some sort of secondhand data. I am getting firsthand data. I can assess on how much should I buy this property at, and how much exactly I can sell this for, what kind of upgrades can I do on this, and how much money basically can I make. And then there's a lot of other resources when it comes to purchasing properties. And I think the best way to do it is where not a lot of people can see it. So if everyone knows there's a certain property out there that's for sale, you're probably gonna see a lot of competition. And the way it's now, it's happened. There's a lot of investors that are new investors coming into real estate where they don't work for a lot of margin. So if you're looking at properties that everyone is looking at, there's a very good chance you're gonna miss out on it. But if you can find some ways to find properties that not everyone can look at, it's basically by number one way is to network. Everyone in the area that you work in should know that you are a real estate investor. You are a very strong buyer, and basically everyone can come up to you if they have an opportunity. They can come to you, and you can buy the property. And you can network with real estate agents. You should know every wholesaler that works in the area. There's social media groups on Facebook, Instagram, where their off-market properties are always being shared. And something personally that I started recently is I have started reaching out to motivated sellers myself. So people who want to sell their properties, or they're forced to sell properties at a lower price. Alhamdulillah, that has brought some good success to me. And there's definitely resources out there that can help you find those motivated sellers.
Jazakallah, Zaryab. Khalid Saab, let's say if someone he's not gifted with a data aptitude and he does not have a real estate license, are there other ways to find properties? Is there a way for a Qadim who's trying to get in, but his strength is not data, nor reaching out to people and having a real estate license? Is there another way to get around this?
As far as the finding the properties?
Yeah, finding a property. Are you a real estate agent? Do you have a license, and do you compress all the data yourself, or how do you do it in your
No,
terms?
Jay. So I'm not a realtor. I do have a team of realtors. I think I work with like 7 different realtors. I hire them, depends on the project. It's all about yes, MLS listing is like through Zillow, Trulia, realtor.com. Those are the good way to start. But again, at the same time, I would say networking is very important. I have bought properties from my neighbors, the projects I'm working on. So I think it's all about you. Everyone knows that you are the guy. If someone brings you an like property which has potential in it, you will buy it. So it's all about how you introduce yourself to your neighbors, how you introduce, like, sometimes you met like people, like, some meetings. So I think it's all about networking is one of the most, or I would say, like, fundamental way to go, to be honest.
Okay, so personal networking, Jazakallah.
Absolutely.
Rabbi, let's say we have found a property, we have pinned down a property, we are ready to buy, we have decided, we have estimated that there's a lot of potential, there's a lot of profit if you're able to turn it around. How do you fund that property? How do you come up with the capital? Like, how do you make that happen? Like, properties are extremely expensive these days in the US.
Of course. I think the disclaimer is that you need to have some sort of funds to start. I can't say an exact amount because in every state there's different prices. Where we are in Northern Virginia, property prices have gone so up that it's even harder to buy for regular home buyers, end user buyers. So it depends on which area you are, but I think if you have at least, if you found a property, there's good margin in it. There's no problem in going to a hard money lender. Hard money lenders will fund you will fund you up to 85% of the purchase price, and will also fund you the rehab amount, the money that you're gonna put in to renovate the property. But the only catch is that these hard money lenders their interest rates are super crazy. They charge a lot of fees upfront, and during your rehab and while you own it, there's a huge interest that you have to incur. So you have to be really sharp with your numbers. And if you can still make that happen in those numbers in your spread, I think hard money lenders are a good way to go. If you have an established portfolio, let's say, I mean, that you can do that for your first 2, 3, 4. But once you have an established portfolio, you can actually go to some local banks. I'm not talking about Bank of America or Wells Fargo. These are some community banks that you can go to and ask to lend you the money for purchasing homes. And they are very competitive in rates. Their rates are usually very low. They will lend you up to 75% of the purchase. So 25% you still have to come up yourself. And obviously you have to still come up for the rehab amount as well. So I'm not going to say that you can start off with $0. If you want to get into real estate, there's other ways in real estate you can start from scratch, which is basically you can get a realtor's license. You can start once you have the realtor's license, and I will really push for that. I will say I will really tell people that it's a great tool. You will learn a lot of things from there, just because it gives you a lot of firsthand data, and you get to help people sell and buy properties. So that will be good for your knowledge. You'll gain a lot of knowledge of real estate, how to purchase and sell properties. But once you have it's a good side hustle. You're not working for anyone. You're still your own boss. And over time you can still come up with some sort of capital that can eventually help you get into investment. Or these days, there's a lot of wholesalers, real estate wholesalers. What they do is they find motivated sellers that want to sell properties at a deeply discounted rate, and they purchase properties from them and they sell it to the end investors. So they're just acting as a middleman, and you need absolutely nothing to do that. But yes, you still need good knowledge of what the prices are that you can have by either being a realtor yourself, or you can always have friends or a realtor buddy who can help you out with it.
Jazakallah. Khaid Sab, now I'll come back to you. Let's say I have found a property. Now I know which property to buy. Just like Nazim Saab mentioned, I found a hard money lender, or I found relatives, or I have savings, or I have equity or capital necessary to make that purchase. How will I make it happen? Like, real estate transaction is a pretty big transaction. How do I make sure it's safe? Is it like a DMV, or you need to open up a company? What are the protocols and procedures of the actual purchase?
Jay, I would say the first thing first, you have to open an LLC. And the reason behind that is the liability issues. It's more secure. I would not recommend anyone to do or purchase any property or start the real estate under their personal name. So that's the first thing. Second thing is, if you suppose you hired a realtor, or just like Nazim Saab said, if you become a realtor, you run the numbers. If the numbers make sense to you, let's move forward. What's the next step gonna be? If you're taking care of the finances, which is already been explained by Nazim Saab, like, talk to lenders. Some lenders give you renovation loan as well. Totally depends on what kind of relationship you have with that particular bank. The next step is you have to find a title company, and title company is the one who can help you to make this thing happen. There's a company which we're gonna run all the precautions. They're gonna do the title research, and all those things been covered. So down the road, if something trying to claim that property, like my grandfather owns this property and some stuff like that, the title company jumps in and you are secure and safe. So LLC and the title company.
Jazakallah, Khaid Saab. Zaryab, I'll come back to you. So once we have decided on a property, we have purchased it, and we have made the necessary fix, could you describe a little bit on the selling side? Like, do you sell it yourself, or what does the sales market look like in the US right now? Is it pretty hard to sell right now, easy, or?
No, I think in the Northern Virginia area, I can talk about that. I think overall in the US, prices are increasing. It's definitely a seller's market. It's big. The reason behind that is there's a historically low inventory out there. And even though, as everyone knows, that interest rates are skyrocketing right now, there are still a lot of buyers that are looking for properties, that are competing for properties. I list my own properties, and I have seen some, great competition where we have sold properties over $50,000, $100,000, just even with the high interest rates. And it's mainly because that there are historically amount of low interest rates and historically amount of inventory, and there are still a lot of buyers out there. And even though they're predicting that interest rates are gonna get lower, if they get lower and if the inventory stays low, the house prices are gonna keep going up.
Excellent. Jazakallah. Zaryab, could you also shed some light on how can you use real estate to build wealth and retain wealth within the US? Can you compare it to maybe some other options to retire and have decent money when you retire?
I think it's the best way to retain or build wealth in the U.S. I was reading an article the other day. I don't have the exact reference, but 60% of millionaires in USA are become millionaires through real estate. And it's just it's risky, but it's at the same time it's the safest investment out there you can make. If any one of you out there who owns a home and who has owned a home or owns a home from the last 5-10 years, you can look at your home value from when you purchased it and from where it is now. You're not only paying your mortgage off, but you're adding value to by just living in your property. And let's say you were to sell it today, you can make quite a few, you can make a good amount of money. So I always say, what I always say is money in the bank is worthless. So if you have money sitting around, if you have funds sitting around, I will tell you to invest and invest in real estate. If you don't have enough, don't worry about it. Maybe you'll have enough in the next 2 years or 3 years. Or maybe you need, you can work on a few different things, as we just explained earlier, to get enough funds to get into real estate eventually. But I think after, when you retire, inshallah, we'll all retire one day. If you have a few number of properties to your name, you'll be happy. You'll be happy.
Excellent. That makes sense. Khalsab, could you shed some light on ambitions? Like, what is driving you to do this every single day? Like, how are you using this to make yourself feel good, to make a living for yourself and your family? Like, what is the main driving force that's keeping you ambitious day to day?
I think my answer is like kind of similar, just like Regional Azim Sahab mentioned. But I think there was one ambition, like I don't want to work for someone. I want to make my own empire. I want to start from, of course, from little, and I want to grow. I want to be like, of course, the goal is to become the best of the best in real estate. So it's all about the hard work, how much effort you put into it, how much knowledge you try to, like, more skills you're trying to learn. So it's all about, like, making my own empire, trying to be best in it, and of course, with the blessings of Allah Ta'ala, one day I will achieve that, inshallah.
Jazakallah. So Zaryab, what is keeping you ambitious? Like, what is the main driving force for you? Why are you so focused on the business and want to do this professionally?
So when I joined, I think I was reminded of something very beautiful that had happened to us a few years before that. So my family, we came to the US in 2014 from Rabwa, Pakistan, and our family is blessed enough that Khalifatul Masih knows our family personally. So when my father, before moving here, he met Hazur. Hazur had instructed him to move to the US. And he specifically told him that once you move there, go and invest into real estate, go and invest into areas in suburbs, buy properties, renovate them, and sell them. So when the time came for me to make that decision, I was reminded of that. And I think from there, it made it really easy for me. And on top of that, I think my motivation from these words of Hazrat Muslim Maud, where he really emphasized the youth to be the best at what they do. So even regardless if you're a doctor or engineer or even you're into sports, he instructed every Ahmadi Khadim to be the best in what you do. And in this work, and if I am in real estate, I want to be the best. Sure, there are monetary advantages to it, but my main goal is to be, inshallah, be the best at this in this business. So I can so one day everyone knows me, and when everyone will know me, I can tell the world that why I became the best in what I do. And I think it's a great motivation, or you can inspire a lot of people around the world. I think there's so many business men out there, or people, entrepreneurs out there that are using their place or their wealth to actually inspire people. And inshallah, I want to be able to do that and bring people to the right track.
Jazakallah. With Hazrat's guidance and his advice and your obsession, mashallah, you have gotten to a very decent position in this business. Hazrat, before we move on to the questions, what are some of the ways you can serve the community, and what has like your family business done in particular? Can you highlight some of your achievements?
I think it's totally depends on, like, I'm a firm believer of that. Like, whoever I am and whatever I'm doing, it's because of Jamaat. I'm not saying this because this is a Jamaati like webinar. I'm a firm believer of that. Secondly, how to help the community. It's about, like, I always try to tell my khuddam, especially, or my friends, to start their own business. And it could be any business. It could not have to have a real estate. And I want to quote the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings upon him, that you should conduct business, for it is 9 out of 10 livelihoods. So that's, I think, enough for the motivation. That's enough for helping your surrounding. And of course, like, when you are becoming or if you're growing, when you're growing your business, of course you have to help your community out. You have to I don't want to become like very successful in it and none of my friends are in business. So that's kind of motivation, and again, the focus, hard work, we can easily achieve that, inshallah.
Jazakallah Qaid Sahib. So now we'll open the floor for questions for everyone. And one thing to remind is, even after the webinar, if you have very specific questions about real estate, you can note down the number for both of them, Zaryab bhai as well as Umer Sindhu Qaid Sahib. And you can text them, call them, get guidance. I know both of them will personally, they'll give you their precious time and guidance. So, but right now, if anyone has a question, they can raise their hand and we can let them ask and utilize rest of the time. I see Saad Bhai's hand is up. Is he the only one?
I will unmute you, and then you can ask. I saw that you had a few questions in the chat as well, so you can ask your questions. Okay, Saad Bhai.
Assalamu alaikum. First of all, I just wanted to say thank you so much to the organizers and the panelists for arranging this amazing webinar. I think it's so cool, and I was really excited to hear from Qaid Saab and Zaryab bhai, Nazim Saab. That was the main thing I wanted to say. The other thing I wanted to ask Qaid Saab is, what is your average profit after all your expenses on each of your flips? Like, yeah, on average. And same for Zaryab bhai, actually. Not that it's a competition between the two, but I'm just curious.
So Assalamu alaikum, Saad bhai. I think the answer will be the same. I think it depends on the project. Depend how big the project is. Sometimes you get $30,000 profit from one property, and sometimes you can get $100,000 profit. So it totally depends on, like, the project totally depends on the condition of the property. And just like I said, it's all depends on the numbers.
Zaryab, can you talk about your spread on a property? Like,
So I mainly shoot for, again, it depends on the size of the property, the type of the project, how big of a project it is. But usually for smaller investments, we shoot for somewhere in the 40 to 50K range. For bigger projects, we shoot for somewhere between 75 to $100,000 range, and it also it can differentiate based on how long it's going to take us. On an average, it takes us about 3 to 4 months from purchasing a property to selling a property to flip it.
Jazakallah.
So,
Let me see who else. Hassan Ahmed has his hand up. I see both of them named Hassan and their hand up.
so before we go to Hassan's, we have some questions as well in the chat. Let's take one of those first. We have one from Body Sahib. It says, "How was your or your family very first experience? Did you just jump in, or was there someone who assisted and navigated through trenches?" This can be for either one of you that wants to
Yeah,
answer.
I guess both of them can. Zaryab, do you want to go first? Like, other than Hassab's guidance, like you were told to do this by Hazur, and obviously your family was obsessed to do this very particular task. Was there like a mentor, a teacher, someone who showed you the path, or?
I think for me, when I joined when my father was fully involved in it, so he acted, my father has always been my mentor in everything. So he basically taught me a lot of things, but I would say a lot of things as you experience, you learn as well. I think my first experience, I can't speak for my father's first experience, because that was way before we came to the US, because he had moved before and he had started the business before. But my experience was mainly great. And then, as Guide Sub explained at the start, yeah, I've been in this for 5 years, and to this date, I learned something new about this, about properties, about how things can be done differently. So, first experience, I think, as far as I remember, it was great, and that's kind of pushed me to do more and more. But I will tell you that the second experience was horrible. But I did not stop there, and because I knew that if I stop, that's gonna, ruin the rest of it. So you have to continue going, keep going. Even if your first experience is bad, learn from it, learn from your mistakes, learn from your experiences, and use that on the next one. And inshallah, that will be a hit.
Jazakallah. Sab, I know you're very self-made, but did your family have someone to look at, or like, did you guys have a mentor? Have you like seen someone else do it, or how did your initial startup begin?
Anji, I think, to be honest, I think my dad was the one who started it. I joined it when, he was very experienced into it. My first experience, and I would say, I did not like the real estate in the beginning. To be honest, I did not know what was going on. I did not know, why I was doing it. So the reason was that is you have to keep going. Just like I think reason Nazim Saab mentioned, you have to keep going. And why? Because, we are not quitters. We're not going to quit. We have to make the things right. Yes, there's some hard days in real estate. There's some good days in real estate. Some days you come home after Maghrib. Sometimes you're done at around 2 and you have nothing else to do. So I think it's totally depends on your motivation. And there are a lot of ways to learn it. I would recommend, yes, YouTube can teach you some basics of it, but not everything. You have to go to the to the field and try to learn it from the experience. There's a lot of things you're not going to learn from social media. That's for sure.
Jazakallah, makes sense. So there's a lot of resources other than mentors and witnessing
I
other
would
people.
like to say, if somebody wants to learn and somebody wants to take the first step, me and Kaitsa, we're here. So if you want to get help from one of us, we inshallah will help you as much as we can.
Absolutely.
Jazakallah, Nazim Sahib. That's an excellent opportunity.
So,
Zaryab, can we unmute Hassan for the next question?
yeah. So we have two Hassans here. I'll unmute Hassan without the last name.
Okay.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam.
Thank you for doing this webinar. I'm from North Carolina. I have a question. Right now I'm watching some, you mentioned these YouTube videos, and there's this trend on glamping going on. I don't know if any of the panelists have experience with the glamping and tiny homes, or these like geodomes or these type of land development projects.
Zaryab, do you have an idea of?
So I have not experienced it myself, although I am involved in new construction we're actively, but I have not yet looked into glamping or doing these small manufactured homes, or like sometimes some of them have been Airbnbs as well. So yeah, I have very less experience of that.
Jazakallah. Kaisab, do you happen to come across any tiny houses or similar?
To be honest, no. So
Okay.
I don't want to give a random answer. I would just say, like, I'm not too sure about it.
Okay. No worries.
Sorry, Hassan bhai.
Can we move on to Hassan Ahmed's question? And if you reach out to them again, they can probably find out and give you a better answer. Like, we have Zaryab's email and phone number. They can probably help you with the research.
I mean, Hassan bhai, can you please let me try if I can answer his question better. Can you elaborate a little bit more on your question? I know a little bit about these certain types of new developments, but what are you more interested in about? Do you want to get started? Do you want to know like if it's good or not, or what's your question specifically?
Yeah, in general, I'm trying to, I'm exploring some opportunities. So like just evaluating what's a good thing to start as an investor. So right now I'm in the phase where I'm saving. So I'm maybe by next year, or maybe I can get into something. But I was looking, there's a glamping trend where you buy land and you can put up some kind of geodome or A-frames or something like that. So and have a rental. And then I'm just curious if anyone has experience if it's worth it or not, or how much trouble it is. And
yeah, I think it totally depends on your research. I think where you are, I will say that you can see if it's kind of if it's really demanded in your area and if people are benefiting from that. You can look into certain lands. Obviously, you have to start with checking with the county or the city on what their regulations are related to such sort of development. Obviously, you have to start from there, and if they say that yes, we can possibly look into it, then you need to possibly talk to a civil engineer or an architect, and it has to be a full team of professionals who can really give you more details on it. But in terms of feasibility, that's something you might have to come up with yourself, or you can actually talk to a local real estate agent who has done these certain type of projects. But if that's something that's demand in your area, I would say go for it.
Jazakallah, Zaryab. Jazakallah for that clarification. Could we unmute Hassan Ahmed for his question?
Assalamu alaikum. I think I'm on mute.
Walaikum assalam warahmatullah. Go ahead, Hassan bhai.
So my question is like, can you recommend some hard money lenders like you already use? And if possible, like you can give us some numbers, like just for example, if we do the like a 250K hard money loan, what should be the normal fees? Like every hard money lender have different faces. So could you just please give us some basic idea, like what should be the like regular fees or the reasonable fees? Or if you have used any hard money lender, can you recommend us any one of them? Thank you.
Gee, Hassan, I
Jazakallah.
think it depends. It depends where you're located at right now. So if you're in Northern Virginia, I think Regional Nazim Saab can help you better. I'm in Richmond, so that would be different.
Hassan bhai,
Hassan bhai, where do you live?
I'm in New Jersey, but mostly the hard money lenders are mostly they are like they can do the loan out anywhere in USA. So like I'm
Zaryab
just
bhai,
curious, like different
Zaryab
hard
bhai,
money
do you have
lenders
any?
do the different loans.
Okay, Zaryab bhai, do you have any recommended lenders or big names or anyone you would recommend?
Ji, Hassan bhai, if you can please reach out to me, I will be more than happy to share the lenders that I've worked with. But I think what I will ask you to do is I will ask you to look around for, I mean, I'll be more than happy to share my list, but what I would ask you to do is at least reach out to Google hard money lenders in your area, reach out to a few of them and see what they're offering. Usually, what they charge you is basically interest rates vary for somewhere between 9 to 13 to 14%. So you want to make sure your interest rate is the lowest. Then they are depending on the structure of the deal, they fund you up to 70 to 85, 90% of the purchase price. And upfront, at the time of closing, they charge you at least 1 to 2% of the loan amount. And they have other charges, preparation fee, title company has their own charges. Their main fee is basically the 1 to 2%. And that depends on you and what kind of lender you find or what hard money lender you find, and you can kind of negotiate that with them as well. The one that I have gives me charges me 1% for the loan amount, and they charge me about 9% these days. But it could depend on the property, the type of property as well. Some hard money lenders might look at a property and they say that, oh, we don't work in this area. It has happened to me. So I will say, do your own research. Shortlist about 5 to 6 of them. See what they quote you, and go with the lowest one. And then on top of that, I will be more than happy to share my list with you as well.
Thank you. Jazakallah. Thank you.
So on a
Jalil bhai, you have
similar note in terms of resources, we have a question here by Irfan Saab in the chat. Basically, he's asking, can you guys please share some of the resources in terms of wholesalers, WhatsApp or Facebook groups? So I would suggest, Irfan Saab, if you can reach out to the panelists, their numbers, as well as Zaryab Bhai's email is there, and I'm sure they'll be happy to share those resources. Next person we have here is Azan Bhai, so I'll go ahead and unmute you.
Jazakallah.
Assalamu alaikum. I had a question. In the start, how were you able to learn the business, and what type of advice would you give on how to really forget about the money and just focus on learning real estate and developing your skill set?
Jazakallah. Khatsab, you struggled in the beginning. Can you mention how you learned the business in the first place?
Gee, I think the most important thing is after finding a property is making your own team. To making your own team can play a significant role in your growth as well. You should have professional people who are not trying to cut the corners, who can complete the job in a given time frame, and again at the same time do it very professionally as well, because there are a lot of times people can able to sue you. I've been to that situation when there was some plumbing issue, and I've been sued by that. Although we won the case, but again, there can be a lot of things. So I would say buying a property, it's not the biggest step. To make sure you complete the project in a certain time frame as well as in your budget. That's the biggest thing.
Jazakallah. So I think in a nutshell, he observed professionals and kind of learned along the way while they were getting the work done, basically.
Yeah, and then one more. How do you know, once you've brought a property and flipped it, how do you know if you should keep the property for rental business or if you just flip it and make your profit?
Zaryab, can you take on that?
Oh, that's a great question. I would love to answer that. If you have enough margin, let's say you've purchased a property, let's say you have 50% margin in it, you're where you can resell this property, come up with more capital, and possibly buy 2 more properties. In that situation, I think it depends on the spread. If you're making somewhere over 15 to 20% in profit, I think that would be considered a great flip. With the rental, with rentals, you have to look at them a little differently. You have to see what is the cost or what is the price to rent ratio. So there are certain areas which are probably in your area as well, where you can find where values of the properties are not as high compared to some other areas, and their rents are higher. So you're probably looking at more cash flow in that way. So it really comes down to numbers at the end of the day. If you have a lot of spread, then I would say sell that, buy another one, flip that one, and maybe you can use that one the profit that you just made to put a down payment for the next one. In rentals, I know we didn't talk about rentals enough. The art is to use as less of your own money as possible. Use your credibility to purchase those properties and use loans that will possibly, and obviously once you have loan and you have it rented out, that rent, it should pay off that loan that every month, and it should bring you enough cash flow every month as well. So let's say if you have $500 cash flow from it, which means rent minus mortgage minus insurance minus any expenses possible, the rest is basically you're taking home. So every year you're accumulating, let's say you're making $5,000, just $5,000 from that rent. But on the other hand, that is also paying off your property. And in 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, you're going to have a great asset.
Jazakallah, Zaryab.
Question, sir?
So in favor of
London?
time, could you unmute the last question, which would be Shadnoor? We are in last 3-4 minutes of the webinar.
Before Shah Noor Sahib, I noticed we had one more in the chat by Hasib Malik Sahib. He had asked, he has a rental property in North Carolina built in 2006. Do you advise at this time to sell it or continue renting?
Khalid, can you briefly take on it, rent it or sell it as if in this market?
Gee, I think if it's a property which is giving you a cash flow, again, it have different aspects. If the property is paid off, again, what's your goal is, what's the ultimate goal is to buy another rental property, sell it, and start the rental portfolio. So it totally depends on it, and also depends on how much cash flow you're getting out of it. So I would explain cash flow is the money you own to the bank, you take that plus the the insurance and the taxes and whatever net you make per month. So that's your cash flow is. So if there is a decent cash flow, do it. If not, you want to just it's not a good fit for you, sell it, tie it to buy another property, or you can sell that if it's already paid off, sell it, buy 2 more properties if you can, or buy 2 more rental properties if you can.
Jazakallah khair, sir. Can you unmute Shanur for the last question, and then we'll wrap this up because we're like in the final minutes.
I had a quick question. In terms of hard work, do you guys know how many hours a week you guys worked in?
In the interest of time, we have like last few minutes. Could we go to the? Do you mind if we take the next one?
I think he's not talking, so I can answer Azan Bhai's question real quick. If you allow me, Ulfan Bhai.
Yeah, that's fine. He's what do you mean who's not talking?
I think you were asking somebody else and they didn't respond.
Okay.
So that's why, since Azan Bhai has his
Okay. Yeah, that's fine if they didn't respond.
So Azan Bhai, I think I mean I I'm doing it full time. My time ranges from, like, my daily routine is basically my work day is basically like somewhere in the 10 to 12 hours a day. But I can choose how I want to spend it. I can spend 10 to 12 hours. I can give 6 hours as well. I have a lot of independence, but usually in this season, it is like spring market going into summer. It is absolutely crazy right now. So my days are somewhere in the 10 to 12 hours a workday range.
So we have the final
Assalamualaikum.
question here by Shanur Saib. You can go ahead.
Assalamualaikum, can you hear me?
जी
Yeah, we can hear you.
जी जज़ाकल्लाह रियल एस्टेट के बारे में गाइड करने के लिए। एक्चुअली मेरे क्वेश्चन के 2 पार्ट हैं। पहला ये है कि जब भी आप किसी कंपनी के साथ इन्वेस्ट करना चाहते हैं तो क्या-क्या चीज़ें आपको देखनी चाहिए उस कंपनी की प्रोफाइल में, और कितने पैसे मिनिमम आपके पास होने चाहिए जो आपने इन्वेस्ट करने हैं, और उसका आरओआई क्या होगा, रिटर्न ऑफ इन्वेस्टमेंट क्या होगा, उसकी एज क्या होगी, कि कितना टाइम लग सकता है जो आप पैसे इन्वेस्ट कर रहे हैं वो आपको उस पर प्रॉफिट मिलने में। और सेकंड पार्ट ये है कि पाकिस्तान में भी ये चीज़ मैंने भी एक्सपीरियंस की है, और ऑल ओवर द वर्ल्ड आप कहीं पे भी जब इन्वेस्टमेंट करते हैं, यूएस में, पाकिस्तान में या किसी भी कंट्री में, तो नॉर्मली होता क्या है कि जब आप पहली दफ़ा इन्वेस्टमेंट करते हैं तो आपको जो प्रॉफिट है वो सही ठीक ठाक मिलता है। सेकंड टाइम जब आप इन्वेस्टमेंट करते हैं तो आपकी जो इन्वेस्टमेंट होती है वो रिस्क पे आ जाती है। लाइक आपको अपने ही पैसे जो आपने इन्वेस्ट किए होते हैं वो वापस मिलने पे डाउट होता है कि पता नहीं मिलेंगे भी या नहीं मिलेंगे। और थर्ड टाइम क्या होता है कि टोटली जो आपकी इन्वेस्टमेंट होती है वो बिल्कुल डूब जाती है, आपको पैसे आप जो आपने इन्वेस्ट किए होते हैं वो भी नहीं वापस मिलते। तो इसकी क्या
Jazakallah.
वजह है?
Jazakallah. Can we split it between the two? Kaitsab, can you mention like what are some of the key indicators you should look for in a company when you're looking to invest? And then Zaryab can answer the second half. Like if someone is looking to invest between you guys or a third company or any other XYZ company, what are some of the key indicators to make that decision?
I will say in Urdu because Shanur Bhai asked me in Urdu. So Assalamu alaikum Shanur Bhai.
वालेकुम सलाम।
जी, सबसे बड़ी बात ये होती है कि आप उनका पोर्टफोलियो चेक करें, उनकी मार्केट में उनकी मतलब कि मार्केट में कितना उनकी प्रॉपर्टीज हैं, किस तरह से वो लोग काम करते हैं।
जी
एक तरफ से देखिए, मैं आपको आपके 2 सवाल, पहले क्वेश्चन के भी 2 सवाल थे, उसमें दूसरा सवाल ये था कि आपको कितने पैसे चाहिए मिनिमम। तो देखें
जी
वो उसमें जितना आप इन्वेस्ट कर सकते हैं, और उसका रूल सिंपल सही है। बिजनेस का जो हमने सीखा है या मैं इम्प्लीमेंट करता हूँ वो ये है कि 6 महीने की खर्चा, जो आपके महीने का खर्चा है, आप उसको एक साइड पे रख के जितने बकाया पैसे हैं आप उसको इन्वेस्ट कर सकते हैं। उसकी रीजन ये है कि खुदा ना खास्ता अगर आपको ROI आना शुरू नहीं हुआ तो यू कैन सर्वाइव। ठीक है, अक्सर हम लोग ये गलती करते हैं कि हम लोग जो पैसे हमारे रोजमर्रा के इस्तेमाल के हैं, जिसको हमने अपने बिल्स के लिए रखा हुआ है या किसी और पर्पस के लिए, पर्सनल पर्पस के लिए रखा हुआ है, हम उसको इस्तेमाल करने की कोशिश करते हैं, जो कि ठीक नहीं है। बिजनेस जो है वो आपका हमेशा ऐसे पैसों से होना चाहिए जिसके इसके बगैर आपका घर चल सकता हो। बकाया आप मार्केट जिसके साथ भी आप काम करें, देखें, हजरत उमर से रिवायत है कि जो भी बिजनेस करो वो राइटिंग में करो। तो आप एक चीज लिख सकते हैं, उसको प्रॉपरली आप नोटराइज करवा सकते हैं, प्रॉपर लेजिटमेट एग्रीमेंट बनवा सकते हैं जो जिसपे वो स्टैंड हो सकते हैं। मगर एट द सेम टाइम आपका अपना नॉलेज होना भी थोड़ा सा लाजमी है। आप ये नहीं, इस ये तो फिर इस तरह ही हो जाएगा जैसे आप स्टॉक्स में इन्वेस्ट कर रहे हैं। आपको अपना नॉलेज कि आप कैसी प्रॉपर्टी आप लेना चाह रहे हैं, मेरा पर्सनल मानना यह है कि इससे बेहतर है कि आप थोड़ा काम कर लें, बेहतर है कि आप किसी के साथ इन्वेस्ट करें, बेशक वो आपका कोई भी हो, कोई दोस्त भाई। अपना बिजनेस करें, अपना थोड़ा काम करना शुरू करते हैं, मगर वो आपका पर्सनल डिसीजन है। मगर सिर्फ ये है कि आपको खुद बेसिक नॉलेज होना चाहिए कि अगला आपको बात बता रहा है उसमें कितनी सदाकत है।
जज़ाकल्लाह।
Jazakallah Khair Sahab. Zaryab bhai, so I'll just repeat the second half of the question. I think it was like once you decide a company, you invest in it. First few years, your ROI is out of the roof or it's decent, and then it seems to decline and flatten out. I kind of forgot. So I think his concern is what's the reason or how can you avoid it?
तो जिस तरह शाहनूर भाई कह रहे थे कि पाकिस्तान में कुछ कंपनीज हैं जिनके साथ इन्वेस्ट करते हैं एंड रिस्क होता है। देखिए मैं आपको ये बताता हूँ, आप इन्वेस्टमेंट जो होती है, जब आप सोचते हैं कि मैंने अपनी कुछ पैसे कहीं भी इन्वेस्ट करने हैं, आप कहीं ना कहीं थोड़ा बहुत रिस्क तो ले रहे होते हैं। तो ये चीज़ हमेशा रहती है। आप जितनी मर्जी रेप्यूटेबल कंपनी के पास चले जाएं, देयर इज ऑलवेज अ रिस्क इन्वॉल्व विद इट। जिस तरह स्टॉक्स हैं, पीपल लोग जो हैं बहुत सी इस्टेब्लिश कंपनीज के साथ करते हैं, बहुत ऐसी कंपनीज में करते हैं जिनकी जो एंटरप्रेन्योर्स, जो मालिक हैं, वो यू नो इंतहाई समझदार लोग हैं, लेकिन क्या होता है, लॉस हो जाता है। तो ये तो आपको ये वाली गारंटी जो है ये कोई भी नहीं दे सकता। तो ना ही पाकिस्तान में मिलेगी, ना ही आपको यूएस में मिलेगी। आई थिंक जो आपका फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन था उसमें आप जो कंपनीज को रेफर कर रहे थे जो इन्वेस्टमेंट के लिए करती हैं, ये वो प्रोफेशनल कंपनीज हैं जो एडवर्टाइज करते हैं अपने आप को कि हमारे साथ इन्वेस्टमेंट करें।
जी
जी। तो हाँ, उस उनका पोर्टफोलियो बेसिकली जब वो जिस तरह वो एडवर्टाइज करते हैं, आप उनके पास जाके, जिस तरह कायद साहब ने कहा, उनके पोर्टफोलियो देखें, देखें कि उन्होंने किस तरह बिजनेस करते हैं, कैसे उनके ऑपरेशंस रन होते हैं। और आई थिंक कुछ कंपनीज हैं जो एज लिटिल एज $10,000 कहती हैं कि हम हमें दें और हम आपको 10% देंगे, आरओआई हम आपको 11% देंगे, हम आपको 20% देंगे। तो डिपेंड करता है कि आई थिंक उनका पोर्टफोलियो इज़ नंबर वन, एंड सेकंड यू हैव टू सी कि किस मार्केट में वो इन्वेस्ट करते हैं। वो यूएस में वो रेजिडेंशियल में करते हैं, या वो कमर्शियल में करते हैं, वो वेयर हाउसेस में करते हैं, वो किस तरह की इन्वेस्टमेंट्स करते हैं। तो उससे आपको आइडिया हो जाना चाहिए। आई थिंक उनकी हिस्ट्री से भी पता लगता है। अगर वो पुरानी कंपनी है, they've been around for 10-12 years, आई थिंक वो किसी वजह से अभी भी हैं। तो लेकिन
जी
अगेन कोई आपको वो गारंटी भी देंगे, वो कहेंगे कि हमारी गारंटी है कि आपको 10% आएगा, आपको मनी बैक होगा, लेकिन एट द एंड ऑफ द डे इस चीज़ की कोई आपको गारंटी नहीं दे सकता कि ये होगा।
जी
और
जरा
एक
भी,
और
जैसे
मैं
आप
एक
नॉर्दर्न वर्जीनिया में, यहाँ पे ईयरली बेसिस पे आरओआई क्या है एवरेज यहाँ पे?
आई थिंक देखें, जो रेंटल बिजनेस है, ठीक है, रेंटल का काम होता है, उसमें आई थिंक अ गुड आरओआई इज 10%, ठीक है।
ओके
लेकिन ओवरऑल आई थिंक कुछ कंपनीज हैं उनको 20 भी है, 25% भी है। कुछ कंपनीज ने 100-200% ग्रो किया। जो ये डेटा सेंटर्स आपने देखा होगा, नॉर्दर्न वर्जीनिया में डेटा सेंटर्स बहुत बन रहे हैं। तो
जी
उन्होंने तो दे हैव skyrocketed. So it's a lot more. I'll say that it's at least 10%, but somewhere from 10 to 20 to 25%
Okay.
average.
Jazakallah.
Jazakallah. Jalid bhai, I believe we don't have any more questions, right?
No, that would be all for the questions.
All right.
And I just
I
just want to add one thing on like Shanu bhai question. एक और बात उसमें अगर कोई बंदा आपको गारंटी दे रहा है कि आपको सिर्फ प्रॉफिट ही प्रॉफिट होगा तो दैट्स नॉट अ गुड बिजनेस। उसकी वजह ये है कि बिजनेस अगर आप बिजनेस की डेफिनेशन को समझना चाहें तो ये है कि आपको प्रॉफिट के भी चांसेस हैं, उसके साथ लॉस के भी चांसेस हैं। यही बिजनेस की ब्यूटी है। तो अगर आपको कोई गारंटी, मैं आपको इस बात को फिर दोबारा उस पे इनसार कर रहा हूँ कि अगर कोई बंदा आपको इस बात की गारंटी दे रहा है कि आपको प्रॉफिट ही प्रॉफिट है तो देयर इज समथिंग fishy about it.
I think he just texted. He has another follow-up question. If you guys have time, if not, then
Yeah, I can talk about it all night.
okay. Jalid bhai,
In the interest of the time, because we're kind of
okay, that's fine.
going over. If Shanu side, if you can reach out to them directly, you can continue on.
Jazakallah. Yeah, Shanur bhai, you can note down their numbers. Jazakallah, Jalid bhai, for conducting this webinar. Jazakallah to SOT. And I'm deeply thankful to Umer Khalil Sindhu, Qaid Saab, and Nazim Saab, Zaryab bhai. All of the questions weren't pre-planned, and they opened up their heart and led us into their business and how they make their money. And I hope it was very helpful to all the Qudams who are trying to get in. So Jazakumullah Ahsanal Jaza to both of them. May Allah Ta'ala bless them even more and give them more success in their respective businesses. Jazakallah to both of you.
Jazakallah. Jazakallah for the opportunity.
Jazakallah.
Thank you so much for having us.
Jazakallah Qaid Saab. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamualaikum. Assalamualaikum.
Anikram, I think before we drop off, we should end with dua. But looks like everyone's kind of dropped off. Maybe the folks that are on the call. Let's Jay, but maybe you can lead us in dua and we'll kind of wrap it.
Sure. All right. Dua. Ameen.
Anikram.